Hello everyone, so today I'm making blueberry and raspberry almond muffins, bakery style kind of muffins, and they're gluten-free and dairy-free, and super delicious. So I'm starting off by making our dairy-free buttermilk. So I've got almond milk, and I've got measuring out 250 ml of almond milk, and then I'm going to juice 1 lemon and then add that into the almond milk to make a buttermilk, like a dairy-free buttermilk. And then I'll just pick out the pips from the lemon and add that into the almond milk. You could use just normal buttermilk if you don't need it to be dairy-free, or you can make your own buttermilk with normal milk and lemon juice as well. So I'm just adding that into my milk. Then I'm just going to give that a stir and set that aside for a minute and let it do its thing. Next, I'm going to measure out my dry ingredients straight into the mixer bowl that I'm using from my stand mixer. So I'm going to do flour first. I'm doing self-raising flour, and I'm doing 325 grams of self-raising flour. It's the Dove's Farm gluten-free self-raising flour. Just use whatever self-raising flour is your usual. And you could use plain flour too, and if you are using plain flour, just make sure to add about 3 teaspoons of baking powder to that. So I'm measuring out my flour, and then I'm going to measure out some ground almond or almond meal, whatever you want to call it, and I'll measure out 55 grams of the almonds. Then to that, I'm going to add some xanthan gum. I'm just going to do half a teaspoon of xanthan gum and add that into the mixture as well. And then I'm just going to add the sugar. I'm using golden caster sugar. You could use normal caster sugar. You could try some other types of sugar too, like a brown sugar. But I'm using golden caster sugar, and I'm doing 220 grams of that. And I'm just mixing that all through. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that into my stand mixer now. And then I'm going to sort out my wet ingredients. So I'm going to measure the butter. I'm using the Stork butter, I'm using the gluten-free, dairy-free one. And I'm measuring out 60 grams of butter. Then I've got my stand mixer out, so I'm going to pop in my butter to the dry ingredients, and also the buttermilk. So I'm just pouring that in there. Then I need my eggs, so I'm measuring out 3 medium eggs. I'm doing it into a separate bowl because I don't want to drop eggshell all into my mixture, my cake mixture. So I'm just doing it in a separate bowl so that it doesn't end up with eggshell in my mixture and I can pick it out. If you're using large eggs, you could probably just use 2 eggs. So just pour that in there. Then I'm going to add some almond essence or extract. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of almond extract into that as well, which smells divine. And then just I'll also add a little bit of salt in as well, just like a pinch of ground salt, as you can see here. And then I'm going to mix, and my mixer wasn't plugged in, so I'm going to plug my mixer in and then I'll mix. So I'm pretty much just mixing here until everything's incorporated. And once that's done, I'm going to add the berries. So I'm doing blueberry and raspberry. So it was my first time making this recipe. I put together a blueberry recipe that I'd made before, and then kind of adapted it to add the almonds into it. But it's a super easy, simple recipe. So here I have, this is a 300-gram bag of frozen raspberries. I'm using about half of that, so about 150 grams of frozen raspberries. Because they were frozen, they're a bit mushed up. And about 200 grams of fresh blueberries. You could use fresh raspberries as well if you don't want them to be all mushy. Then I'm just going to gently mix that through so I don't have completely burst berries in there everywhere. That was mixed through enough. Now I've got out my cupcake pan, and I'm just going to line it with my cupcake cases. Does anyone else's cupcake cases always get stuck together? And do you have a trick for how you get them out not stuck together? Because I find that I accidentally have 2 cupcake cases on a lot of my cupcakes and muffins. These are really large cupcake cases, as you can see, because this is quite a deep pan. This pan's actually from IKEA, I believe. See, 2 cupcake cases. And then I just need to grab 2 spoons to measure out my cupcake batter into my cupcake cases, or muffin batter, should I say. Trying to make sure I have lots of berries in each one because no one wants to bite into a muffin without berries. And this batter recipe makes a lot of filling, so you can really fill them up. So I kind of go back at the end and make sure I've got all of them nice and full to the brim. So I decide that's good. Then I'm making sure I've got my oven preheated to 175 Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And then I'm just cleaning off my tray so that it doesn't get super dirty in the oven, just with a bit of kitchen paper roll. And then I'm going to add some ground almonds to the top, which is really, really delicious. And so I just got some ground almond here and just adding that to the top. I probably should have cleaned my tray after doing this, because then I have to go through and clean it off again. But yeah, this is super delicious. I definitely recommend adding the ground almond to the top for sure. It makes it really, really yummy. So once I've finished doing that, I just clear off my tray again. But that's not so bad because at least this isn't sticky. And then they're all good. And then I get them in the oven for 20 to 25-ish minutes. And this is them coming out looking really delicious. I hope you enjoy.